So you've got your recruitment business, you've got your obviously got your podcast,
Yes.
you're a venture partner and about to be announced as a new venture partner in a new business, and just for kicks you thought you'd start a media company. So tell me about that.
I have to say, I love the media company. Look, it's pretty new. I guess it stemmed from the podcast. We started the podcast during COVID because it was quiet. And we also started the podcast because we wanted to be able to sell our startups. When my previous recruitment companies had been in government and corporate and so forth, and everybody knew who we were recruiting for. But when we started doing a recruitment company just doing startups, one, the candidate market was very tight. So trying to get someone to leave a perfectly good job to work for a company they didn't know was difficult. So we had to work out how we could really sell that business. And we felt by doing an interview with the founder, no one sells the business better than the founder. We could use that. And so that's why we started the podcast. And, here we are now, 142 shows in, season 5. I love doing it. And I'd never done it before. I was more nervous than you could ever imagine on my first one. Probably more nervous than when I actually went and spoke on stage for the first time as well. I was more nervous doing my first podcast. And I was actually filming 6 in a row because I could only afford to hire the studio for one day. And by the 6th one, I was still nervous. But I really did enjoy it. And so there was a couple of reasons that made me want to start the media company. One is that it was insanely expensive when I was trying to do it. And we had very little money. As I mentioned, I had to hire the studio for the day. So we wanted to bring it to the startup world again, because that's really the ecosystem I play in the most now, and give it to them at an affordable price. So that was the first reason, to be able to give them the ability to use video, which has become so commonplace and so powerful now. But also, I wanted to expand my experience in doing it with my head of content, Hayo, and I. We just started talking, how cool would it be to do documentaries? How cool would it be to film awards? How cool would it be to this? And so we did. And that's sort of what we're doing. And in the first, and when I say new, it's 8 weeks old.
Wow.
We've got 3 documentaries booked in. We are going up to the Northern Territory to film people flying out of helicopters. We're going to film some war games for a military startup. We've got a sort of arty, very fancy dinner that we're doing. We're doing podcasts for people. I'm loving it. And we're doing all these capital raising videos, which I think is the best thing. That's our latest thing we've launched in helping people. It's really, really affordable. I won't quote the price, but we're helping people raise money, which is becoming increasingly difficult. So the number one reason was to really bring it down at an affordable price, because I think that the big production companies just rip you off. Now I know what it costs. They definitely rip you off. And 2, I just wanted to do it. And like I said, I'm 50. It's about time I start doing things I really want to do.
Yeah, fair enough. So just with that, how do you get a gig to go up to the Northern Territory and film somebody jumping out of a helicopter? Is that joined with a startup? Is a startup about high diving or something?
Let's just call it serendipity. I think when you're in recruitment for 25 plus years, you get to meet a lot of people. A lot. I think my daughter worked it out the other day. She's 16, so she's she loves maths and things, and she worked out that it was something like 2.1 people I've met throughout my career. It was some ridiculous number, right? So you get to meet a lot of people. Those people go off and do a lot of different things. I still love, my number one thing, if you ask me what I love to do, it's meeting people in whatever capacity. And things just come up. Like, who'd thought I would be filming war games for a military-based startup? Who knew there were military-based startups that you could actually access? I found a whole pool of it just through a random introduction. And I think if you put yourself out there and say, this is what I'm doing, you'd be amazed. And that's exactly what we did. I rang someone that I'd bumped into at an event and just said, we're doing this now. If you know anyone, actually, I know, and bang, 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 bang. And, we're going up to Magnetic Island to film this robot in the water. Where did that come from? I don't know where these things come from. I also read a lot of, and we talked about my dyslexia, I read a lot of newsletters. So I do love reading. I love reading books. It just takes me quite a while, but I read a lot of newsletters, and I sort of speed read. I love learning about what's happening and new things. And so I read a lot of, I guess you'd call them sort of newsletters that might cover psychedelics or startups or fitness hacks or whatever. And our publishing company, does Balance the Grind, and I read it because I want to put that content into our publishing company, Balance the Grind. But that leads me to reach out to people that I've never met before. You'll be amazed how people respond. I reached out to this guy who advises the UN on artificial intelligence. Just sent him a message on LinkedIn. He said, yeah, sure, let's have a chat. And we had a chat on the phone, and now he's going to come on one of our shows. I'd never met him. He's in, I think he's in Brussels. But, I think if you just put yourself out there, you'd be amazed how many people also like to meet people, and amazing things can happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The power of being able to just send out that DM or send out that letter. That's what actually got me started in this business. How I got to meet you.
It is.
It's these conversations. You go, hey, I want to know this thing, or I'm interested in that thing, and things happen. So